say a few words about constraints and how they shape our discourse. And I'll say, I want to say initially, you know, we don't always have to think of constraints, but they do play a pretty big role in most of our rhetorical communication. And you think about this, maybe as a child, as a 1-year-old, if I had a need, I could communicate with my mother, and she says, okay, you need food, gives me food. She is a rhetorical audience. She's capable and willing to meet my needs, and did so. As I grew older, let's say 3, 4, I had people around me pointing out that if I wanted to get my exigence met, I'm hungry and I want lunch, I needed to ask politely. So that might be, I might say, I want a sandwich, and they'd say, what are the magic words, right? So this is a constraint that's been added, that we add to our communication. And constraints, as Bitzer defines them, it's very broad. He was trying to be broad, but the attitudes, traditions, the beliefs, the interests and motivations of everyone around us form the constraints. So you need to always try to think about constraints and how they can shape your discourse. One approach I like to take is that the audience we face is potentially rhetorical. When you have a problem that you need solved, modified, and you're looking at a large number of people, you think, well, okay, that's my audience. Some, maybe many of them, are not interested in helping, not willing to help. Many of them might not be able to help. But if you think, okay, of this group of people, there will be a subset that is able and a subset that is willing, and hopefully there's an intersection where people who are both able and willing to modify the exigence, and that leads to a rhetorical audience. What I want to toss out here is the idea that by considering constraints, you can modify, you can alter the size of that rhetorical audience. It might start out as small, and by saying the right things, you make a bigger rhetorical audience. You can say things that don't work, and you can shrink that rhetorical audience. Remove it altogether, in fact. And if you just think for a minute about advertising generally, you'll see this on operation. Let's say I have 100,000 half-ton pickup trucks, and I want to get them sold. I need to get rid of them, and so that's an exigence. And I put my ad up on Hockey Night Canada, and 1 million people view it and see the ad. Most of those people are just an audience. I mentioned in an earlier video, you might have some number, 10, 50, 100 people, who are immediately interested in this ad. Perhaps their pickup truck just blew up and they need one right now. So they say, cool, ad. They're caught. You will notice that most ads will throw in things like, buy a pickup truck right now and I'll give you $3,000 cash back. I'll give you gasoline for a year. I'll give you these. These are constraints which are being added in order, I say positive constraints, in order to entice you, in order to make that rhetorical audience bigger. There might be someone that's capable of buying a pickup truck, but not really willing. But if you give me $3,000, maybe that's incentive for me to act, and I will jump into the group of rhetorical audience. That is something to think about. Applying the right set of constraints to make an audience become rhetorical. Again, I phrase this as a potential, taking an audience, seeing the audience as a potentially rhetorical audience and thinking, okay, what constraints do I need to apply to make that rhetorical audience bigger or better or stronger, or make it exist? Just as a contrary example, I'll mention that for several years I managed a bar, restaurant, and I gave my servers carte blanche to kick people out if they felt so offended. And probably once a month, I would see someone come in with an exigence. They wanted a beer and a burger or whatever, and they would come in. And now, this should be a very easy rhetorical exchange. Servers, almost by definition, are able and willing to meet your needs, meet the needs of the customer. But it is possible for a customer to come in and engage in rhetorical communication in such a way as to destroy their attempt at communication. Why? They're not thinking of constraints. They speak to the servers in a certain way, they say things which are found to be offensive, and the server says, I'm not going to meet your needs. I'm not going to be the rhetorical audience. In fact, you're going to have to leave right now. It happens. Think about the things you need to say, the constraints you need to apply in order to resolve your exigence. And anyone needs to resolve an exigence.